Welcome to this week's edition of Bowl Season Stories. I'm Nick Carparelli, the Executive Director of Bowl Season. And each week, different guests from the world of college football join me to talk about current topics in the sport, as well as discuss what they remember most about their bowl game experiences. Our guests include members of the media, former players, coaches, sports executives, and even fans who will share their favorite bowl season stories with you. Today, we are joined by host of ESPN's Countdown to College Game Day, Christine Williamson, former Ohio State Buckeye and five-time Super Bowl champion Pepper Johnson, and Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl Executive Director Bernie Olivas. All of today's guests are brought to you by Logitech, smarter solutions for better results. And also joining me, as she does each week, is our on-air producer, Angela Lang. Angela, I think we're starting to feel like a broken record, but every week we say what a great weekend of college football, and this past weekend might have topped them all.
Isn't that what's so great about college football is just any given Saturday, you don't know what to expect. Last Saturday was just a crazy Saturday. I can't wait to get into it with our first guest, Christine Williamson, the co-host of Countdown to College Game Day. Of course, they talk nothing but college football at 8:30 Eastern as we're getting ready for another big day of college football on Saturday. Christine, thank you so much for joining us. Love to hear what you thought about last week and rolling into the next one.
Yeah, I think going into this season, one of the things that thank you guys for having me, by the way. I'm very excited to be here. I think going into this college football season, we knew it was going to be very different. I feel like week one kind of showed us that, in that, we got to see a lot of the teams that we thought were going to be really good and that weren't as good as we thought they were. I personally am a University of Miami alum and a Clemson alum. So I was on the sideline for Georgia Clemson, and I was absolutely devastated when Georgia completely rocks them. So I feel like since week one, we kind of have seen a lot of things happen that I don't think we expected to happen. And it's made this college football season a lot different and a lot more exciting, because now Alabama has taken a loss, and we get to see, obviously we have Georgia, Kentucky this weekend, and people keep saying that Kentucky might upset Georgia. So I don't personally think that, but there's a lot of things happening in college football that are unprecedented, just like the year was. So we'll certainly see what happens.
Yeah, certainly never a dull moment in college football. There were so many great games this past weekend. It's hard to pick the best one. I think at a normal weekend, we'd be talking about Michigan, Nebraska. That was a great game. We'd be talking about Wake Forest beating Syracuse in overtime to go 6-0. First place in the ACC, but three games in particular for me anyways: Oklahoma, Texas, Iowa, Penn State, Texas A&M, Alabama. Such great games. Which one of those was your favorite, or can you even pick one?
So I was actually at Oklahoma, Texas until halftime, and I was so mad that I left at halftime. But it was I lived in Dallas for 3 years. It was extremely hot on that sideline, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to go. But that game never disappoints. So I should have known, especially after what happened last season when it went to 4 overtimes. Like, I should have known this was going to be a great game. I was actually excited that Oklahoma won, because every week we pick upsets. And my option, I was this close from picking Texas over Oklahoma. And when I saw that Texas was winning, I was like, oh my gosh, this is the game that I should have picked. So I was actually very excited that they did not win, just because then I would have been mad that I didn't pick Texas. But I think that was definitely one of my favorite games from last week. And I also covered the Big 12 for a while. So watching that game and just knowing the history of that game, that was probably my favorite from last weekend.
Well, it'll probably come as no surprise to you here at bowl season. We track bowl eligibility. Teams getting their 6th win is a big deal. We love the playoff. It's great for college football, but for the majority of college football, just getting that 6th win, getting to a bowl game is such a cool experience. Last week, 10 teams got their 6th win and punched their ticket, beginning with Coastal Carolina last Thursday. They're ranked 15th in the country. 10 more teams with 5 wins are playing this weekend and looking to do the same. And of course, Cincinnati's up to 4th in the country. Many think this is finally the year a team from the group of 5 will be selected for the 4-team college football playoff. What do you think about this year's Cincinnati team? Can they do it?
So here's my thing. I believe that Heather Dinich is the goddess when it comes to knowing things about the CFP and people getting into the CFP and stuff like that. And every single time she's asked about Cincinnati, she says she does not think it's the year for a group of 5 team to make it into the college football playoff. I will say though, even though I'm not an insider like she does, I don't talk to the people on the committee every single day like she does. I do think that just because we're talking about how unprecedented this college football season has been. I think this is the year to at least allow a group of 5 team to go into the college football playoff. Like, it makes perfect sense. And so I feel like if Cincinnati is able to keep it up, that they should definitely be in the CFP.
Interesting. Well, I think if nothing else, the playoff so far has been dominated by the same teams. I think people are excited to see a team like Cincinnati challenge for the spot. Even Georgia, who's a traditional program, just a new number 1. Iowa being up as high as they do. Who are some of the other teams you have your eye on?
Okay, so I think it's really funny. I'm just speaking about Cincinnati. Like I said, I'm a Clemson alum. And it's so funny. After Alabama took that loss last weekend, everybody's trying to figure out how to get Cincinnati out of the top 4 and Alabama back into the CFP. And so, like you said, the powerhouses in college football have always dominated the CFP. And so I personally feel like the CFP should expand, but that's another conversation. I feel like I'm also very biased when it comes to college football, and I wish that the Big 12 was a lot stronger so that I could make an argument for Oklahoma to be in the CFP. But the last thing that I want to see is more than 2 teams from the SEC in the CFP. And so that's kind of where I'm leaning. I would love Clemson. Obviously, Clemson has not been playing that well. DJ Uiagalelei is not doing what we thought that he would do this season. But I just feel like it has to be the SEC cannot dominate the CFP. So honestly, the only thing I care about is just having some diversity at the top and not just being SEC powerhouses, especially when you think about, even if you make the argument for Oklahoma, the fact that Oklahoma and Texas will be in the SEC very soon. So I would like to see some other team, especially since this year has been so unprecedented, in the top at the end of the season.
Well, Christine, we could talk all day. People can listen to you a lot easier than they can listen to me, thankfully, on ESPN. So everybody, please do. Christine, thank you so much for being on the show. Good luck to you.
No problem. Thank you guys so much for having me.
We are going to take a very short break and be right back with former Ohio State Buckeye Pepper Johnson. Stay with us.
The first goal of every college football team at the beginning of the season is to win 6 games and qualify for a bowl game. They've punched their ticket and now are officially bowl bound. We're very excited to announce a new tradition with official bowl season gear given out in the locker room moments after winning that 6th game. T-shirts that celebrate the achievement. Fans can join the celebration by going online to bowlseason.com, where they can order their own bowl bound T-shirt. Bowl season is a celebration of college football, so celebrate with your team when they become bowl eligible.
So happy to welcome Pepper Johnson as our next guest. Pepper is a 5-time Super Bowl champion, 2 as a player with the Giants, 3 as a coach with the New England Patriots. And today we're going to talk with him about his days as an All-American linebacker from Ohio State. Pepper, welcome to the show.
Welcome. Glad to be here.
Pep, good to see you, buddy. Thanks for joining.
Same, boss. Love the old faces.
Pep, you and I have been friends for, I was thinking about it last night, over 20 years now. It was 2001 when we met, right? We were just starting to work for the Patriots. You just wrapped up a unbelievable 13-year playing career, 2 Super Bowl champions as a player with the Giants. But before that, you were at Ohio State, 1982 to 85. You went to 4 bowl games. You won 3 of them. You got to go to places like the Holiday Bowl in San Diego, the Fiesta Bowl in Arizona, Rose Bowl in Southern Cal, the Citrus Bowl in Orlando. You picked the right ones, Pep. Tell us about your bowl game experiences and memories you have from them with your teammates.
Well, that first one was the greatest. I have to say that.
The Holiday Bowl?
The Holiday Bowl, yes. We were, believe it or not, Ohio State University going to play Brigham Young, and we were the underdogs because Brigham Young owned that bowl. The bowl was brand new at the given time, and they've blown people out, and it just wasn't normal for Ohio State to just be the underdogs and favorites. Well, just someone else being favorites. And going there, and our experience off the field just magnified the whole situation even more. We was kind of like in a like back in the, Coach Bruce, I'm quite sure he had a lot to do with it, but we were away from a lot of stuff. But Mexico was right there. Tijuana was right there. So guys was contemplating, okay, when you had a little time off, can we walk over to Tijuana and go to Mexico? And being a freshman, that was tough bidding, but everybody else was going over there. So guess what? Yours truly went to Tijuana and experienced Tijuana, and it was a great experience. As soon as we got into town, we had a guy standing outside. He was trying to chalk up business, and he said to us, Hey, Black amigos, come over here so we can rip you off. And we was like, wait a minute, man, that's not what you're supposed to be saying to people. But what did we do? We went in there so he could rip us off. But no, we went in, took a peek. It was kind of dark and all that mess. And so we got out of there.
Now, your final bowl game was the '85 Citrus Bowl. Your teammate, Cris Carter, that game had this one-handed catch that your quarterback swears he was trying to throw the ball away. But he caught the ball anyways, and he thinks it was the greatest catch in the history of college football. Do you remember that play? What were you guys thinking?
And he actually, if you're how he was positioned, he really should have snagged it with his right hand because the sideline was over here, but he actually reached over with his left. And if you ever seen Cris Carter, he got some big mitts. I got some pretty big hands, but he got some big mitts for his size. And he palmed it, pulled it in, and he tapped both feet in bounds. In college he didn't have to do that. But yeah, Cris Carter, and I still tell people today on my Cris Carter stories that I think he would have been matter of fact, I know he would have been a better basketball player than he was a football player. And the cat is a Hall of Famer. So he would have, I think he would have made the Hall of Fame. Matter of fact, I know he would have made the Hall of Fame in the NBA also. The guy is an incredible athlete.
So you touched on this a little bit in your first question. Let's talk a little bit more about the bowl game experience in general. What a lot of fans turn the TV on for 3 hours in December. They watch the game. They don't realize that you guys get to town 5 or 6 days early. It's a reward for a successful season. You're with your teammates. Like, pull back the curtain for us a little bit. Was there any personal stories you remember of things you did with your teammates that to this day you say, wow, that was pretty cool?
Yeah, I was saying about the Tijuana there, that's an experience for me. Taking that third bowl trip, that was the only ugly one. When we go out to California, we go out to Pasadena, and really things didn't work out the way that we planned, and our only loss. We were away from everything. Coach Bruce kept us, it's like solitary confinement. He kept us in the hotel, and for us to do interviews, we had to take a helicopter to go into LA, really to see anything because of all the traffic it would have caused. So getting on the helicopter, it was my first time ever being in a helicopter. And the pilot actually told us that he was going to, go around the stadium during the game. And we asked him, could he take a couple inches? My roommate was called Keith Byers. And Keith matter of fact, Keith did all the talking. I was too busy, at awe of the view. And he took us over to Rose Bowl and on our way to the interview and then on our way back, he actually told us that he would take some pictures and try to get them to us. And my mother has it in her house now in our library. But that was a beautiful time. That was a beautiful experience for us. And the hotel that we actually stayed in, I don't know if you're a movie buff or whatever, with Rodney Dangerfield, when he did the triple lending dive and all that stuff like that.
I think it was Back to School. I think.
Back to School. Yes, that we stayed in that hotel where he did the triple lending.
Awesome. Pep, last question for you. I know you have to go. You're the head coach now at IMG Academy. You're coaching some of the most elite level high school talent in the country. What are some of the lessons you learned as a player, as an NFL coach, that you're now able to pass down to them and help them prepare for the next step in their lives?
And we have a few coaches that actually reached the NFL level, which is awesome for the kids. And I tell them all the time that you guys are going to look back at this maybe 10 years from now and wish you got more information from us, or paid more attention and ask more questions. So try to get in as much as possible while you can. But I try to share with them that I've been there. We sat in that seat, not at the same capacity of where they are, but I sat in that seat and trying to get the guys to tell you what college coaches and scouts are looking for. And on that, I never coached in college, but I coached in the NFL, and what we look for in the NFL. And one of the main reasons why I'm coaching in high school now is because there were so many guys that have gotten to me that I'm like, why didn't you learn that in high school? Why didn't you learn this in college? How do you not know how to watch film, or, how to break down an opponent or whatever like that? And you're in the NFL. And some of the guys want to know that knowledge. And some of the guys didn't even have the slightest idea. They just play football. If they roll a football out there, they just play football and kind of good at it. But so we try our best for presentation, for the guys to have the presentation, to talk to scouts, the whole recruiting part of it, what people are looking for. And when they leave IMG, we just want those colleges to say that these guys are different beasts, that they're different athletes. They are already prepared for the next level.
Pep, we've been doing this show every week for a couple months now. They've all been fun, but it's especially fun for me when I get to spend time with a friend like you on the show. So thank you so much for being on the show. You're the best.
Can I bust your chops at the end right quick?
Oh boy, do I have a choice? Go ahead.
Yeah, Angela, can I do this, please? He actually asked me to do this interview. Like, I was going to say no. Like, Pep, can you? Dude, I was like, man, hey, what are you talking about? I'm jumping through hoops or whatever for you. So I can't believe this. We played basketball in the garden together, and
Oh, I'd love to hear what kind of basketball player Nick is. We'll have to have a conversation.
No, I got to follow up with the story played basketball. So we used to play, and we were both past our prime. I was never a professional athlete, but I always had to be the guy guarding Pepper, because I guess I was the next biggest guy. So I'm still, God only knows how many pounds less than Pepper I weigh. And we're playing, and something came over me. He's driving to the hoop, and he has unbelievable feet and coordination for a guy his size. He's driving to the hoop, and I slide in and I take a charge. I don't know if you remember this, Pep. You catch me square in the chest. I go back, and he leads that, goes, Nick, I'm sorry. I thought you were bluffing. As if who would possibly be dumb enough to take a charge from me? Fortunately, I didn't get too badly injured, but Pep, thanks again for coming on. This is what friends are for. I appreciate it.
All right. Me out here.
All right. We're going to take a short break and be right back with the Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl Executive Director, Bernie Olivas. Stay with us.
Thanks for listening to the Bowl Season Stories podcast, a celebration of college football that breaks down the moments, the memories, and the magic of college football. Be sure to check out Mic Drop, another podcast powered by Tony Fay PR. Mic Drop pulls back the curtain on the larger-than-life sports scene here in North Texas. From its iconic teams, state-of-the-art venues, and headline-grabbing owners and athletes, we cover it all. Download Mic Drop today.
Welcome back to Bowl Season Stories. Our next guest on the show is Executive Director of the Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl in El Paso. And I will say he has the best background of any guest yet with the co-branding going on. Bernie Olivas, welcome to the show. Appreciate that background.
Oh, it's good to be here. We're all in. We're all in here in El Paso. We love the bowl season. We love our game, and thank you for having me on.
Bernie, it seems like the theme of this show is Nick's friends. I had Pepper Johnson on the previous segment while I've only been in my role with bowl season for 2 years. You and I have been friends a long time, so it's I'm really happy to be chatting with you on the show. Thanks for joining us.
Well, again, thanks for inviting me. And you're right, we go back a long, long way. And you've helped us along the way in getting where we are right now, which I think is a great bowl game that we have here in El Paso, and appreciate what you've done for us as well.
Well, speaking of along the way, you've been with Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl for 20 years now. Tell us, what are some of your personal highlights over that time?
I've been involved for 39 years. I started as a volunteer back in '83, and I completed my 20th year as executive director. And there's a highlight every year. I mean, it's just a big thing for El Paso to have the bowl game of our statue here. Highlights all over the place, but obviously, El Paso is like 92% Catholic, and us getting Notre Dame to come to El Paso back in 2010 was probably might be the highlight of the bowl of the 80 years history of the bowl. I don't think anybody in El Paso ever thought that we could get the Fighting Irish here. And again, El Paso is like 92% Catholic, and we sold out. When we made that announcement, the game was sold out in just a couple of hours, and it's still the largest crowd to ever see an event at the Sun Bowl Stadium. And that was 11 years ago. So I guess you could put that at the top of the list, but having the universities with such a great football traditions come in here year after year is a highlight. Like I said, every year is a highlight here in El Paso, for not just for the Sun Bowl, but for our city. Our city really embraces this game, and they have for 88 years. And like I said, every year is a different highlight and different memories that are made in meeting all these coaches, these players, and to see them, leave here as collegians. And we have several Pro Football Hall of Famers who have played in the Sun Bowl, and we keep track of all those people. So lots of highlights. And again, I went to my first Sun Bowl game when I was 10 years old, and I haven't missed one since. So that's about 17 in a row, I think. If you start back to when I was 10 years old to now, it's about 17, I think.
Wow.
A few more than that.
Wow. Well, we talk a lot on this show about the impact that every bowl game has on their community, but I honestly think that your game really kind of sets the standard as far as that goal goes. And I think your longevity has a lot to do with it. What's the Sun Bowl's impact on El Paso? It's not just a bowl game. It's really a staple of your community. Talk about that, Bernie.
And you're absolutely right. And the support that we get from our people here is tremendous. And, El Paso sits kind of, I'll say it, in the middle of nowhere. We are a long way from other large cities. The largest city, the city that's the closest city to El Paso that's larger than El Paso is Phoenix, Arizona, and that's 7 hours away. So we are kind of isolated here, in the corner of Texas. So, getting some national exposure for the city during the Sun Bowl game does a tremendous amount of good for our city. And again, while a lot of bowls depend on a lot of people to travel, like as we do, we rely on our citizens to help us, keep this game going. And it is still, the annual event that El Paso has that has the greatest economic impact on our city. El Paso has a lot of tremendous events that come in and go, but annually, the Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl has the largest economic impact to this city year after year after year. And we've been doing it for 88 years now.
And of those 88, CBS has literally been broadcasting your game for 53 years. This will be the 54th. Last year was the first time it wasn't on CBS because unfortunately the game was canceled. What has that relationship meant to the Sun Bowl?
The first time they televised the game was 1968, and we were on a consecutive roll of 53 consecutive games. And of course, last year, I don't know if that breaks it, we didn't even have a game. But what they've done for El Paso, and every city that has a bowl game is tremendous. But unfortunately, a lot of times, and I tell people when I give talks about Sun Bowl, a lot of times when El Paso's the national news, it's usually not great news. And CBS does a tremendous job of highlighting not only the game, but our city to the entire nation. So for 4 hours, CBS, does a lot of features on what the city's about, and where we are and what we do. And it gives El Paso some great national positive attention. And I think that's what CBS has done more for us than anybody else could have done it. And they do it year after year after year. And, they always send their A team. And we've had everybody from, Tom Brookshire and Pat Summerall doing our game, to Vern Lundquist, to just about every huge name that's ever televised, that's ever done college football has come to our city, and they all do the same thing. Right now we have Brad Nessler and Gary Danielson as our talent on the game. And again, year after year, they do a tremendous job of promoting our city, which is one of the reasons bowl games existed to begin with. So a very big part of our family, and I hope this relationship continues for year after year after year.
Well, it seems like you've always had great partners, Bernie. Kellogg's is your current title sponsor, and they really kind of ingrained themselves in the El Paso community right from the get-go. Talk about that a little bit.
I think we hit a grand slam when we got Kellogg's to sign in and become the Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl. And there's a reason why they wanted to get Tony the Tiger, part of this. Kellogg's has an initiative called Mission Tiger, and part of that is that about 60% of middle schools in the country have lost their athletic program. So Mission Tiger is an initiative to try to raise money to get athletics back into middle schools. And they started the relationship by coming to El Paso and donating like $300,000 worth of sports equipment to the middle schools here in El Paso. That is tremendous. And that's what they do. Every box of Frosted Flakes that is sold, some of that money goes to cover Mission Tiger and to help middle schools around the country. Since we did not have the game last year, they donated 1 million meals to our food bank, El Pasoans Fighting Hunger. And that was a tremendous boost to our city. We're not the most affluent city, I wouldn't call us in the country, but we got some tremendous people. And like every other city in the country, everybody has homeless, they have people that are hungry, and they provided 1 million meals to our food bank here, which is tremendous. So the relationship that we've begun and hope continue for a long time with Kellogg is great. They've been nothing but tremendous partners. And of course, Tony the Tiger is one of the most recognizable mascots, and if not in this country, around the world. And to have him parading, up and down the sidelines at our game has been a tremendous boost to ourselves. When we make public appearances, he is one of the most recognized, mascot icons in the country. So we've been extremely lucky to land them, and I hope this relationship goes on for many, many, many years.
Now, you're a former chair of the bowl season executive committee. Then it was known as the Football Bowl Association. You're still very involved, very familiar with the overall goals we're trying to accomplish. From your view, how do you see a strong bowl season organization benefiting the Sun Bowl and all of the bowl games?
There's 43 of us out there, and obviously as a group, you can get a lot more accomplished than you can individually. And I think us coming together as a bowl season and promoting college football as a whole rather than individually can do nothing but help all of us, not just the Sun Bowl, but all of us. And I think what you have done to bring us together, and what Ryan Waters did before your predecessor, to bring us together has been tremendous. I've talked to you before about that word that I hate, and that's meaningless. And I hate when a lot of the focus has now been on the playoffs. And I think the media sometimes forgets that there's 40 other bowls out there that are trying to put some together, not only for their cities, but also for the college athletes, for the student athletes that participate in these bowls. And a lot of times, bowls like us are referred to as meaningless bowls. There is no such thing as a meaningless bowl. All the bowls mean something to a lot of people, including the student athletes, the universities, the communities, and everybody who's involved in college football. And I think bowl season has brought us all together, and we're all working for the same cause, which is a celebration of college football. And again, it's been great to be part of a whole organization and being part of the executive committee and being part of that and working with some of the other executives, directors of other bowl games has been not only a lot of fun, but educational. You learn a lot of things from other bowls. And again, as a group, we can accomplish a lot more than we used to do it individually. So a great organization, and I just hope continues to grow and get bigger and bigger as the years go by.
Well, Bernie, I agree with everything you just said. And you're probably I say it over and over, but I'm going to say it again so the listeners can hear it. The college football's postseason, I think, is the greatest postseason in all of sports. And there's two components to it. There's the playoff component that's been so good for the game, but then there's also bowl season. There's 130 teams that play FBS college football. I don't care if the playoff goes to 8 or 12. That's not enough of a postseason to reward all the deserving teams. And to your point, and we just heard Pepper talk about it earlier in the show. Those bowl game experiences are a reward for a great season and provide lifelong memories for these guys, especially the seniors, Bernie. How many seniors have you had playing your game? And they've been playing football since they were 5 years old. And that's the last football game they ever play in their life. I don't know if there's anything more meaningful to them at that point in their life.
100%. Again, they might never put on a helmet again, but the last memory is going to a bowl game, going to probably a community that they might not have ever been to or might not have even gotten to as adults. And this gives them an opportunity to visit other places in the country. And again, it's great for the cities and it's great for the bowl games, but it's greater for the student athletes that play in these games and, work out day for months, for them to culminate in a city that's going to treat them, just have a good time at these cities and enjoy the final, like you said, as you said, probably the final game they're going to play, because very few of them make it to the next level, but at least they get to finish off their football careers, in grand style. And that's what the bowl season brings to these student athletes, as well as to the cities and communities and everybody that works the bowl game. You're absolutely right with that.
Last question for you, Bernie. Any predictions? Who's going to play in this year's Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl?
Oh, this year is the hardest year that I've ever seen, because college football has been a crazy year this year. I mean, you cannot predict anybody. So right now, when we're looking at possible teams that come to the Sun Bowl, we still have about 8 teams that are possibles from one conference and about 8 teams from the other conference. It's been fun to watch, and unfortunately, I only get to watch about 4 games at a time at home on TV. I wish I had one of those walls where I could see them all. But it's college football is the greatest sport around right now, and as you said, it's been a crazy year, and I hope it continues. But at the end of the day, we're all going to have some good teams playing in our bowl games, and during the holiday season, what better way to spend the holiday season than to watch college football? It's been awesome.
I couldn't agree more. The Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl is scheduled for Friday, December 31st at 12 p.m. Eastern Time in El Paso, Texas. The game will be broadcast for the 54th year on CBS. Bernie, thank you so much for being on the show. Good luck this year.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you all. And again, let's go bowl season.
And thank you all for listening to this week's Bowl Season Stories podcast. Please join us next week when we will welcome former USC Trojan and NFL linebacker Brian Cushing. If you like the show, we'd appreciate you dropping a 5-star rating for the podcast. And always, you can follow all the podcast and bowl season news on our website, bowlseason.com, and on social media at Bowl Season. Thanks for listening.